Welcome, Michael.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Michael McMahon, Curriculum Lead at Think Tank Academy. So as Susan says, my role here is about devising our learning material for the health and social care sector. As Susan said, I began my work in a dementia care setting. After one day I looked after my granddad. He'd had a particularly messy incident at home. Sorted him out, and I thought, you know what, I can do this. At the time, as a university dropout, I was selling football boots in a sports shop. Looking for something better to do, I thought, do you know what, this is important and I can do this. And to be honest with you, at the time, probably quite naively thought, great, I'll change the world, look after the old folks, and all will be well. I didn't really have a clue what I was getting into. But I do know that everything with that first role has sort of shaped why I'm stood here today talking about what I'm talking about. I've since qualified as an assessor, as a teacher, and I've lectured in health and social care. I've worked on a variety of projects designed for vulnerable and disadvantaged children and young people in both educational and support contexts. I personally have continuously accessed and promoted the value of continuing professional development. Everything that I've done since working in care, and now that I look to train others in, always leads me back to the question of, how did I get into this? And why did I get into this? Now, when I'm devising lessons and materials and programs for our staff, I try and put myself back in the shoes of being that new starter. And then more importantly, the person that they find themselves in front of. How do we get people into these roles? And what are we doing to support them when they're there? There are key fundamentals in that process that I'm going to try and highlight for us today. So two of those are learner, staff member, naive, little me in this case, and a vulnerable person that I'd be working with. The others are in this room, and I will come on to you guys shortly. So why would you trust me to look after our most vulnerable people and handle some of their most sensitive needs with very little training, very little experience? Why should a child trust me on my first day in the job? Is it the fact that I've been put there by their manager? Do you think that I'm educated and informed in what I'm doing? Am I going to make a difference? I can assure you now, personally, for me, it certainly wasn't the middle one. I wasn't as educated or as informed as I could be. But this is something that we can change. I had zero occupational experience entering that first care setting. The experience that I've had with family was very minimal, and I certainly didn't have the relevant qualifications to support me in that role. What's resonated with me since then, and since I've taught others, is how on earth must that person feel, that vulnerable person feel, having me handle their daily needs. I'd spent a few months working within a care setting before it was deemed worth it to sign me up to my relevant qualification. It was then that I was able to get access to the learning that I needed to succeed in this job, to be safe in this job, and to make sure I'm not going to cause any harm in this job. All I'd had before this was a few rather dull PowerPoint sessions and a lot of outdated e-learning modules to click my way through, probably cheat a little bit on, and not have much chance to ask anybody any questions about anyway. My qualification was something that I've completed in my own time, or when I was on a night shift chatting to Ken at 4 a.m. in the morning about the war or whatever it may be. Ken was my favourite resident. I know we shouldn't have them, but he was. He was where an attachment was formed, both to him and the profession as a whole, and where the importance of what we do began to really sink in with me. These are the connections and the relationships that we're establishing when we recruit. Working things out for myself at the time and connecting the dots between the drab workbooks that I was completing and the actual human beings that I was spending 13 hours a day with was a struggle. 12 months on, I started the process again with the next level of the qualification, And after a couple of years, I am qualified as a senior member of the care team. Now, a lot happened in those couple of years. My first ambulance call, first death, first dealings with the police, first angry family member, all while still learning exactly how to do the job. So, is this what we expect of our healthcare staff? Can we do better? Do we expect them to study on or after a 13-hour shift? Can we really call that learning? Should I not have had a better understanding of all of these things before I was allowed to influence vulnerable people's lives? Would you let a dentist work on your teeth when they've just started at uni? Or would you let me MOT your car when you know I'm not a mechanic? These are the kinds of questions that we need to consider, or that I consider, when I'm devising ways to develop the workforce within our sector. I left that frontline care role to begin delivering the same qualifications that me and Ken had just completed on a night shift. The various roles and institutions that I've engaged with have contributed to and shaped my understanding of CPD and the responsibility that we all have towards it, that you all have towards it. It's an issue of quality, it's an issue of time, and it's an issue of caring. The key components I mentioned earlier would be myself and a vulnerable person. The other components are you guys, the decision makers, in whatever role and context you may sit. You have the choice as to whether your staff clicks through an e-learning module whilst they're sat watching the telly, or whether they attend a session with an educated professional that they can contribute and learn from. You have the choice as to whether your staff are allowed to attend that extra assignment workshop that takes the pressure off and makes things easier. Or if they can perhaps not work a night shift before they go and sit their endpoint assessment. These little things make a world of difference. And these consequences aren't just felt by the staff. We know this. They're felt by our children as well. Listen to the things we've heard today. I'm really proud to say that the induction processes that we deliver with Think Tank ensure that any potential member of staff starting with us will have an intensive face-to-face and accredited industry standard training. This equates to 9 days of training before a new staff member can set foot in one of our homes. Our induction processes give managers, staff, colleagues time and chance to evaluate a candidate's skills, their knowledge, but perhaps more importantly, their personality. What makes them tick, and what makes them suitable for our children. We know this is what a child resonates and connects with, where attachments are formed. And ultimately, this provides an insight into how a potential candidate is going to align with your organisation's needs and your mission statement and aim. So once within the homes, new starters will shadow experienced members of staff, and are never left without a team leader in the setting to support them and inform their practice and help them settle into their role. We do this to obviously prepare them for the workplace, but to also work out if their skills are suitable for our young people, our children. There's obvious benefits to this, to having the understanding as soon as and comprehensively as possible. For the business, it saves recruitment time and costs. Commitments to qualifications can be relied upon, and the chances of a child's unhealthy or disrupted attachment with staff is reduced. That's the important bit for me. And this should be the norm. Unfortunately, I think we know that it's not. And this is why we want to share our practice with the sector. We have to be more caring and we have to be more creative. We have to stop treating training as a tick box exercise. I know that budgeting can be an issue and I know that time can be an issue. But the bigger issue is the stress and the feelings that we're generating within the humans in our organisations, that's staff and children. One of the answers to this is effective pathway planning, career planning. I would have felt a lot more confident and comfortable if someone had sat me down and sort of explained to me how these next couple of years are going to go, the milestones that I'd meet and the challenges I'd face, as well as the expectations of my colleagues in the sector as a whole. There's pressure there. We're conditioned by the words competence and compliance, but I feel occupational confidence is something that we need to ensure and instill in all our staff. At Think Tank, we've worked with experienced care professionals in our network. We develop these pathways to see our staff move through the necessary levels and areas of learning as they become occupationally confident. Trainers with a wealth of health and social care experience deliver these sessions, and we utilise our own stories, our own experiences, to deliver meaningful and relatable material. That is how we learn. You're learning today based on what Richie has told us, these amazing stories. That's education, that's learning. We take pride in recognising and championing our colleagues. A Think Tank professional reviews any member of staff's CV prior to them joining us. Prior learning, any prior qualifications, experience that they've got, and it's to ensure that that member of staff is on their correct pathway as well, and that our needs as a setting are met. We do this by providing them with engaging, accredited education. The holistic approach takes into account not only the needs of the business, but the aspirations of our learners, our colleagues, as well as the natural skills and abilities, and obviously how we're going to utilise them. We all work with countless professionals whose skills and experiences reflect the power, importance of training, learning, and care. Support workers who are now senior managers, inspectors, providers themselves. We work with some amazing people in this sector. Specialities here, degrees in that. Everybody's had a route and a journey. The experiences upon that journey are to be nurtured and valued. The knowledge they now have, shared and utilised. Their achievement and reward showcased. Utilising these experiences, these career and life stories, to form pathway and guidance will only serve in reflecting the importance and value of working in our sector. We have an aim to make this a more desirable sector to work in. And to do this, we must make it a more comfortable environment to train and learn in. We recognise the importance of compliance and measures we use to meet it. However, working with these plans provides both the structure to regulate and the freedom to educate. A skill set analysis is completed with a new member of staff upon induction, outlines key skill areas, and this informs their support and training throughout their progression. That skill set analysis is revisited at the end of a probation period, not just to call our staff and work out what they are, but to show them their progress as well. We support individuals to make these findings, to use it to inform their own further learning and training. We encourage our partners to engage with and inform the ongoing design of these pathway plans as we continuously expand our knowledge, our contacts, and our understanding of the intricacies of our sector. This is done with a collaborative completion of a training needs analysis. Key stakeholders within your organisation will complete the document with me or the support of a think tank professional, and we can naturally highlight where any gaps in training or knowledge are. And I cannot stress enough the importance of this process. This is a chance to identify training needs and possibilities within your organisation. It's a safe space with an experienced professional who will then help implement a strategic approach to staff training, to progression, and to occupational confidence. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you very much again to Susan, David, and also to Michael.